Hello and welcome to Hey, I Loved That Movie, the podcast where we rewatch the films we loved when we were younger to see if they still hold up. I'm Dan.
I'm Michael.
I'm Helena.
And this time we are joined by special guest returning once more is Sean Carney.
Thank you for having me back. I thought after I made you guys watch Loch Ness that this that was the end for me.
Oh, no, now it's our revenge.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what I thought while watching this film.
What? No.
Helena, what film have you brought to us today?
I've been very brave, and I've suggested this week we all watch The Black Cauldron. Yeah, people who did watch Sean's episode, we did briefly discuss The Black Cauldron being one of my favourite films. It is, I think, probably my favourite film ever. Every time I watch it, once it ends, I want to watch it again. So I had to start watching it quite late yesterday because I knew that if I didn't, I'd just watch it twice or 3 times maybe. Which was something I used to do when I was a child until my mother actually got rid of the tape. I spoke to her the other day. She hid it down the back of the piano. That's where there's a good chance it's still there. So I watch this film every day. I think for a year. It's about a pig that can see the future / has vague oracular capabilities. It's never really fully explained what the pig can do exactly or why the pig knows where the Black Cauldron is. But the Black Cauldron, the titular Black Cauldron, is a cauldron that's housing this evil power of a long forgotten king. And the new king, the Horned King, he wants it to raise an army of the dead to win the war that's been raging across the land. And the pig might know where it is. And unfortunately, the pig knows that it might know where it is. And then the Horned King knows that the pig might know. He tries to kidnap the pig. And Taran, the main character, has to first try and protect and then rescue the pig, find the Black Cauldron, save the world. And he meets a wonderful cast of characters along the way.
And what are their names? Because that is one thing I did not pick up on in any of this. There was most of my notes are like pig, weird dog,
Horny King.
Horny King, yep.
What was the pig's name? Was the pig's name like Henwen or something?
Henwen. I'm not going to lie, I know all the characters' names. I can rattle them off.
There was the guy named like Flim Flam or something like that?
Probably.
Fluda.
What was it?
Fluda.
Fluda Flam? Was there a flam in there?
Yeah. I think they're vaguely Welsh-sounding names.
No idea if the weird dog with the moustache and the bowl cut was called Cookie. I don't know.
Gurgi.
Okay.
I got
that's right.
While watching this film, I got very obsessed with what Gurgi as a character and what the fuck is Gurgi. I genuinely couldn't work out what the fuck Gurgi was.
He's a dog with a bowl cut and a moustache.
But he talks.
And then what was the princess? What was her name?
Eilonwy.
These are tricky names for kids.
Yeah.
And for grown people too, apparently.
Yeah, they're not memorable names.
And then
either.
Taran's is that he's at the start, was it his dad?
I guess his master.
His master? Yeah.
Like, cause he's a pig keep, and then I guess he's like an apprentice kind of ward kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's made clear it's not his dad, but it's
what was his name?
Dorbin.
Oh yeah.
I'm saying like that, like I don't know.
Yeah.
So, Helena, had you read the book series?
No, I've actually, I mean, considering it's my favourite, but I've never delved deeper than the film. I've never looked into it much more. I think I just let it wash over me repeatedly. I never really, until we did this episode, and I did a little bit of research yesterday, I didn't know it was based on a book. I think if I'd known that, I might have read them when I was younger, but now I don't think the books are going to do much for me. I think they are for children, although I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this film's for children, to be fair. Like, this film gets quite scary.
It does. So scary that Disney didn't release it for a while. Like,
they cut a lot
Yeah.
of the scary scenes out of this film as well. I do want to find like a
The horror
director's
version.
cut of the horror version. Yeah, there were scenes that were just too grisly, like
I don't think it exists.
like slicing and dicing the Cauldron-born things at the end. Like, they
Yeah.
cut all of him fighting them because it was too graphic.
I think I read a couple of things where it was like Disney have like deliberately gotten rid of the footage that they cut out of it.
Yeah, they
I think
taped
it was
over
like back in the 80s, it was just too wild. They were too scared of that ever seeing the light of day. Because I think the director tried to do, like, when they did like a home video release, they tried to bring it all back together.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, he's just like, we couldn't get it to work. It just would not work. This is a shame. It's a very quick film.
Yeah,
I think
it's
without
only-
credits, it's probably like
fast-paced.
70 minutes or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's real short. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's because they cut half it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it probably
Yeah,
is.
really.
It would have been a solid 90 minutes feature film, but
Yeah.
then they realised that they were just going to have children wailing in the cinema,
Yeah.
and in the end, they didn't have any children wailing in the cinema because no one saw it in
No.
the cinema.
So, Helena, how did you find it? Because, like, I had literally, until you mentioned it when we did the podcast, I'd never even heard of this film. I didn't know it existed.
It is a hidden gem. I'm
Very
sure
well
that-
hidden. The only way you can
I-
find it is to have a pig that vaguely knows where it is.
I don't know. I imagine this video was sourced before my birth, and it was just one of a selection that we had. We did have fairly small collection of videos. We had some weird ones that I also watched quite a lot, but I can't remember what they're called. And we had like the old Lion, the Witch in the Wardrobe. I think we
Oh,
had that
yeah.
on like obviously they remade it, but the older version I think we had. And then we had
I had
other-
that one too.
yeah.
We stole
So
that from my cousins. Well, they lent it to us, and then we had it for years. And I'd never realised it was an open wound until my cousin brought it up like 20 years later. that we'd stolen that from him.
We have the same,
Yeah.
same feud going on with the audiobook of the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Okay.
That we were, according to my mother, given, and according to my uncle, lent for a journey, because they lived quite far away from us, so it was a good thing to have on in the car to keep us entertained. But yeah, definitely a sore spot.
How many times do you reckon you've watched this film?
I've no idea. I don't remember a time in my life where I wasn't in love with it. I don't know when we really watched it, because I definitely had I had a princess phase, and this film it touches on the princess thing, but not massively. Like, she is Princess Eilonwy, but she doesn't really do any princess stuff. And he's not a prince, and her dress isn't particularly exciting. So I think I probably did ease off on it when I had my full princess phase, where it was all about Beauty and the Beast and all about Cinderella. But then I definitely came back to it. But there was a big chunk of my life where it was just like a fond memory, maybe up from age 8 to 12. Up until, because before then we didn't have a video player, and obviously we didn't have the cassette anymore anyway. But once it was available to dig up and stream, that's when I started watching it again. So really bad pirate copies at the start, because I don't remember it being easy to find until it was available.
Deliberately.
Yeah.
They didn't want it out there.
No, they kept it in the Disney vault for a long time.
I was sort of a bit surprised that it was on Disney Plus, just because they do really hate this film. But I'm glad it is. It's so lovely to have it just available now at the push of a button.
Yeah. I think I just assumed it would be on Disney Plus. I very briefly panicked last night, and I was like, holy shit, I gotta find that movie.
I think
Thankfully
I
it
would
was
let
there.
you know if it wasn't going to be easy to find. But
Yeah.
thankfully, someone out there agrees with me that it is the most beautiful, sweet little film
Well,
Yeah.
ever.
it's so on Disney Plus, they can have it bookend. So we've already had the end of their using hand-drawn animation and CGI at the same time. This was the start of it.
Yeah.
This was
Yeah.
the first foray into it, and as usual,
Killer.
yep, didn't
Was
work.
it?
Because there was the one scene where they see the big evil castle, and there's a shot from below, and it looked too real to be part of it, and I couldn't tell if it, because the fire was obviously real, and I thought they were using a model or something. And then reading into it after, I'm like, oh, they used CGI for obviously for that floating little light ball thing that the princess has, and all the fire and the bubbles and stuff, which was all pretty cool. But considering this was 1985 they made this, it was very early, I guess more compositing than proper
Yeah.
CGI.
Which I kind of
It's
love.
bold.
I kind of love how rough around the edges it is, literally. There
Yeah.
are parts where you can see they haven't really.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's that
Haven't
one
really
scene
smoothed
where
the edges.
Taran's standing face. I think he's saying to Gurgi that he's going to go into the Horned King's domain.
Yeah.
And he's standing on that rock, and it's so rough. You
Yeah.
can almost see the white
Yeah.
scissor marks around him.
You know what fascinated me was when he was walking over rocks, and there was coming up on one that when he stepped on it, it was going to break away. You could very clearly tell what rock it was.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
found so bizarre for animation. That's the kind of thing in live action you'd be like, oh, that's where the fake rock on the set is that's going to break. In animation, that shouldn't happen. It should all just look great. But it was
No, that's
weird. It was
what
almost
happens all
were
the
they
time in,
CGI?
in
Was it a
Scooby-Doo.
painted background
It-
and then
yeah.
Yeah.
just-
So it'll be
Yeah.
hand painted background, and then they put the animated slides on top. So the
Okay.
background
Yeah.
stays the same, but then the bit that they're animating is gonna stick
Is-
out because
yeah.
it's literally like they're hand painting each and every slide of that rock. So it's
All right,
gonna
that makes
jiggle and
so
wiggle a
much
little
more
bit
sense.
and
Yeah.
stand out.
There's
And
a
that's
cer-
it's so obvious in like we've watched a Scooby Doo movie, one of the like old ones recently, and in that as well you can be like, well, we know that rock's gonna move and that chimney pot's gonna move, and
yeah,
every now and then it doesn't, and you're like, oh, they cut that bit.
it's jarring.
And there's
Um,
just like one leaf that's like quivering.
There's a name for that technique, and I think it's called like plate painting.
Oh yeah.
And like if you go back and watch, hey, it's film history time, because I do this every now and then. If you go back and watch like Bambi is a beautiful film to watch in terms of animation because it's all glass painting layered on
Good
top
if you
of
want
each
to
other.
cry as well, if you're just in
Yeah,
need of
if you want to
a
have
good breakdown.
a hard
Perfect.
time, yeah. I love that bit on the in terms of like the animation when they're on top of the cliff looking at the castle. You can see that it's like hand colored as well. You can see the pencil marks as they're moving.
Isn't it gorgeous? Isn't it just the
Yeah.
most? Some of the scenes, especially not so much like the dark grisly scenes, but the scenes where it's like at the start in like the nice village and farm woodland areas, and the bit where he's like looking into the water. They're absolutely beautiful. They're so pretty and lively, and yeah, they're
Yeah,
just gorgeous.
It's funny the story really helped that.
So what's wrong with the story? Come on, let me have it.
Number one, what the fuck is Gurgi?
Yeah, the fuck is going.
Like number one, what the fuck is Gurgi? It's so like okay, so I did no research for this, and knowing that a lot of it was cut out, I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Because I don't think it was just video that was cut out. They cut out a lot of audio as well. Because there's bits that are weirdly quiet that probably shouldn't be. There's a lot of like sound missing, and it makes it. I don't know if the goal was to make it less scary, but it made it way more scary. At the end in the cauldron where all the skeletons are climbing out, it is almost silent. Apart from like just a few noises. Terrifying. Hate it.
It is scary, isn't it? Like the Horned King, like the first time you see him properly as well.
Yeah,
is
he's very
quite
much like
scary.
skull
Oh,
face.
he's very dramatic though. I'm a big fan of him. He's very
He's
like
not really human, is he?
camp.
But it's not really explained what
No.
he is.
well,
It's a great design.
human. He's just very thin. Because I thought he was a skeleton. I thought like all the way through he was a skeleton, which is why when he at the very beginning where he's talking to the other skeletons, I was like, so he's just a special kind that didn't die. No, it turns out it was just really thin.
Yeah, he's
just
real
a
wrinkly.
really thin dude. But I
I
like
needed,
him.
I needed more of him. I think he was the
Yeah.
best part.
Right, he had like just the right kind of like 80s Disney camp villain vibes.
But if we're critiquing, I would say he's just too evil for the sake of evil. Like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
it's hard to build stakes around someone who's just that pure evil. There's no real wiggle room. Taron as well is. I don't know. I had issues with the characters.
Yeah.
But yeah, the evil ones are too evil and the good ones are too good.
Yeah, he's just a real
Yeah.
whiny. Doesn't really have an arc or a strong one that I could get behind. And I think that the movie does suffer by being only 70 minutes because you kind of get to the end and you're like, no one really. Like, I know we went on a journey, but it kind of, you know, what it reminded me of. It reminded me a little bit of towards the end of that Fantastic Beast, the Grindelwald one, the second one, where
Yeah.
characters just conveniently end up in the bad guy's lair at the end.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
kind of like that. We're just there, and they're like, I don't know. To me, I was just like, come on, I needed this journey to build to something a little bit more than this.
Yeah, they got to the Horned Kings, which, by the way, I wish in the real world we labeled our leaders after defining features. I want that to be a thing.
We have the permed queen.
Yeah, it'd be incredible. They got to his castle so quickly. It was like they left the safety of the house and then into the forest, and now they're at the evil castle and they need to infiltrate.
Yeah, Taron fucks
what?
up really quickly.
Yeah, like
When it's like his one job is to get this pig to the cottage, and he immediately loses track of her.
just like immediately looking into a pool, fantasizing about having a sword, and then the pigs run away to just off screen where it's now terrifying forest, not normal forest. Like,
Yes, it's the Forbidden Forest because
Yeah.
this is the most fantasy film I've ever seen. It throws every trope at it that I was like, is this a D&D game? And then it can't be. It came out like before.
I wonder when the book series was written Because yeah, sitting here, this is the first time watching it for me, so I'm watching it and I'm like seeing all these tropes. But for all I know, the author of the book series created a lot of these tropes.
Yeah, like it feels
It's
like
1964, the first one,
Okay, yeah.
and then the
alright.
Black Cauldron came out in 1965. They are all, yeah, they're Welsh.
So I think from what I read, this film is a bit of a loose combination of 2 of the books out of the 5.
Mm.
And that probably doesn't help as well. I feel like maybe they just didn't really know what parts of the story they wanted to tell. So they did a kind of half-baked version of a lot of different things. It can't be easy to make a film when you've got the studio being like, whoa, hang on. Once it's finished, being like, no, you got to cut this. Because from what I read too, that wasn't the way you did it with animation in the 80s. It was like, once it's done, it's done. You don't cut animated scenes out. They've already been created and paid for. It's insane. Now it's like you would just do it. Back then it was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I
what
think
kind of movie
animation
are you
was-
leaving us with?
animation was expensive. You know what you're making before you make it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
think
must
this
have
was
been-
literally the only, like, the first time that had happened when they were like, no, this is done, but we just need to get rid of it. Like, it hadn't happened before.
It's mad that they sort of approved quite a scary, grisly plot,
Yeah,
and
so
then
have you
we're
guys
like, oh no, this is too scary and grisly.
have you guys seen the animated Lord of the Rings from the 80s?
Yeah.
Mm.
So the guy, I can't remember the dude's name, Ralph someone, I think it was Ralph Bakshi possibly. He made that one, and apparently, I haven't seen it, apparently it was quite successful. So they asked him if he wanted to do the Black Cauldron, and he looked at it and was like, I don't want to do it because it's not a Disney, like, family-friendly thing. Like, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And they're like, shut up, man, we're going to do it anyway. And then they ran into problems.
Yeah, it feels like whenever Disney do something that's not super family friendly and down like perfect Disney route, they kind of self-sabotage it a little
Yes.
bit. And then they release it and go, well, it did badly. Like the amount of film, minimum ruined a career, maximum closed multiple companies. This is one of those films. This is a show killer. This is a company killer where like it almost killed Disney because partially I think Disney went, no, we don't like this film, so we're going to grind it into the ground before it comes out and make it not enjoyable. And it feels like the start of Disney's weird experimental time where they just made weird shit that didn't sell well and Disney's like typical Disney stuff at the same time. This felt like the start of it. And it was, I think they ruined it. I think they ruined it by editing a load of stuff out.
Yeah, so I think you're right, Michael. I think this is a company that's like, we have a different direction we actually want to take. Let's throw this sacrificial lamb out there and then be like, it failed. We have to change track now.
But
Yeah,
what a
yeah.
sacrificial lamb, because it was the most at the time. It was the most expensive animated film ever made.
Oh, wow.
And the same with Treasure Planet.
Yeah.
When they bombed
Yeah.
Treasure Planet, it was also the most expensive film ever
But, yeah.
made.
There's a trend here.
Yeah. Almost like they artificially inflate the budget.
I think Tangled also ended up being the most successful, the most expensive animated film of its time as well.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think mostly because they were like, we're going to animate all of the hair
Yeah.
Yeah.
in like a new way, and it's like, well, if you're going to do a film with like animated hair,
Yeah.
sure,
the
but
hair, right?
also, ouch, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
mm.
But speaking of
Yeah.
hair, back to what the fuck is Gurgi? Right.
So I think lovable. I mean, there's just so many little side characters here with big personalities. But Gurgi's sort of the third, because you have the cat, which you meet first.
Yeah.
And isn't he lovely? Oh, and he doesn't want that porridge. And then you have Henwen, who obviously is
Is
fantastic
the
in a role.
cutest
She's
pig
the
I've ever
cutest.
seen.
Oh my god, don't you just want to cuddle her? And she's so like squidgy and lovely, and she's got the cutest eyes and the littlest nose. Oh yeah, she's lovely. And then you have Gurgi, who I can't wrap my head round. I remember disliking him as a child.
Yes, what is he?
Reminds me of Gollum from
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings. Had like first time he was on the scene, it was like that has full Gollum vibes. That's gonna bite someone and steal some rings.
Oh, I don't know, like
Is it the only
it's
thing
kind of
that?
like a teddy. I don't know. Did they think, oh, this will make a good toy?
But it,
Maybe.
but he
I'm
wasn't
gonna
like
Google
toy
Gurgi.
friendly. I think, if anything, it's like a Welsh mythical creature that no one has heard of. But they made it look too much like a dog. Like it looked like one of those.
Yeah, it's like a dog child.
Yeah, it's like the front half of a
Hmm.
dog with arms. That's the only thing I could keep thinking about it because it looks.
It's almost like they started out animating just a child sidekick, and then at some point went, no, we need to make him a cute animal.
I've just gone on the Disney wiki, and it says Gurgi is portrayed as a gopher wood troll creature. So
Yeah,
even this
they
doesn't
don't know.
know.
So they don't know. They just made a thing.
Yeah, on his Wikipedia profile page, because obviously this amazing character has his own page.
This is
He's
great.
ever hungry, but really just a sort of a kind of thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think
So it
that's
was
a
meant to
quote
be a
from
thing.
one of the books, or
Dan, have you
yeah.
seen his likes, apples, and having friends?
And
Having
he,
a friend.
having
Yes,
friends.
a friend.
Dislikes
have much
seeing his
depth.
friends in danger.
Yeah.
But
His
he's a bit
dislikes
worse, and then all of a
King's Castle. I love it. Dislikes his own cowardice.
He's an inside thinker. He's very introspective as a weird nightmare golem thing.
I do
apparently,
like his big mustache though.
Yes.
Yeah. Apparently, when the film was first released at the Magic Kingdom, there was like one of the fast food stands was called Gurgies, Munchings, and Crunchings.
Yeah, perfect.
I loved his dialogue, like the
Yeah,
weird little
the
like
rhyming.
yeah.
Whackings and whackings and munchings and crunchings.
But my god, was it annoying really quickly.
Yeah, his voice is quite grating.
And then, all the other weird little creatures. There's like the weird little goblin thing that
Goblin
serves the Horned King.
The goblin.
Oh yeah, what's his name?
Goblin.
It's
I don't
Goblin.
think they ever say it.
Oh.
It's goblin thing. In the
Yeah.
same way Gurgi is that weird like this person they call Gurgi is like that weird hairy little thing. He's the goblin little thing.
Treeper.
Creeper.
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 Oh, okay.
Creeper. Oh,
Yeah, they do call him. It is said in the film as well. Like they say, "Oh, come on, creeper," or like
Oh, okay.
the weird scene where like the soldiers are like all eating meat and watching a weird, heavily breasted woman dance.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
Like
There's a lot of tit in this film.
There's
There is.
a surprising because up until that point there hadn't been, apart from the pig, there hadn't been a single female character, and I was like, is the only female in this going to be this like large
Would
belly
have been
dancing
so
woman?
weird.
And then you get like the princess, and then you get these three witches, and one of them is huge and in love with the bard guy that they rescue. And she
Yeah.
turns him into a frog and shoves him between her tits. And that's just a scene in the
Yeah.
film.
Yeah, the frog in the cleavage scene goes on for a long time
Yeah,
as well.
it-
Like I didn't remember that until I was like watching this properly analytically last night, and I was like, that's a long. Considering it's all hand drawn, and this is a quick film as well. They spend a lot of time in her boob.
Yeah, if
And
they
it's not even like they cut her face out. It is just a shot
Yeah.
of her cleavage and this frog like drowning in boob.
Yeah.
How did that make the
Brilliant.
cut?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Damn.
They've cut so much out of it.
It wasn't scary.
Yeah, it's not scary. It's just a bit strange.
It's just off-putting. That whole witch scene is bizarre.
The witches are very weird. It was
Yeah.
like, do we really need another kooky character at this
I-
point?
I think it was just to get them to the cauldron
Yeah.
because they'd built up that this cauldron is so hidden and so impossible to find that there was literally no way for anyone in the film to find it outside of.
Henwin would have got there eventually. You've got to have a bit of faith.
But the Henwin
Special pig.
Henwin never really showed them where it was. They just showed that it was there. It was somewhere. Because whenever they showed it, it was like, so it is real. It is somewhere. And it's like, okay, where is it? How do you find it?
I think because the Horned King had powers, they couldn't risk using Henwin to find it without
Yeah.
him knowing that Henwin knew it and then doubling down on actually getting the pig back.
But then,
Because
like,
he kind of discards her.
I think the film suffers from Henwin just disappearing from the movie, basically, for like well over half of it.
Yeah.
Henwin should
Yeah.
have stayed with Taran for
Definitely.
maybe
I-
even
when
nearly
she-
all of it.
That bit, I nearly cry every time when he pushes her off the castle wall and she falls into the water. Like as a kid, I think every single time I was convinced she was going to die.
Yeah.
Not got a great sense of object permanence as a child or memory. I was like, oh my god, what if she dies? What if this is the time? And I think because I also watched like Peter Pan as well, so I had a big fear of crocodiles.
Mhm.
So pig in water in Disney, there's going to be crocodiles, but that there aren't. Like she is fine.
she
That
probably
bit isn't very well explained.
Yeah, she ends
I'll
up
put my
being
hands up and say like, yeah, that she ends up with the fair folk or fairies.
the Rice Krispie mascots.
Yeah, aren't
Yeah.
they cute?
yeah, she
No,
probably
no one
died
else
in-
liked them.
she
I
probably
mean-
died
They
in one
felt
part.
unnecessary.
They're
really, didn't they?
unnecessary, and then that's where Henwin stays for the rest of the film until she's back with Dujuma Flip at the beginning. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, she gets taken back by the fair folk. She doesn't come
Yeah.
on the trip because it's too dangerous. And I'm
No.
like,
Which is
I'd have loved her to
fair.
be there. Like
Yeah.
her like freaking out with all these frogs and then like, I don't know, getting all defensive of Taran and fighting the witches. She has the most personality considering she has no lines. And
Yeah.
it's, she's very much an animal. Oh, she's so wonderful, and just her expressions are so beautifully animated, and her like when she's so happy to see Taran, like when she runs towards him in the cave, it just melts my heart.
I'm a big fan. I quite like the princess as a character
Hmm.
because mainly just because for the scene where she reads Terran to Phil, which I couldn't get his name and I kept calling him Twink.
Close.
He's the Twink. Yeah, she just has a go at him and it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, I can use a sword. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Like split up immediately because
Yeah.
that was Taran's arc. Was he nicked a sword from a sarcophagus?
Yeah,
And it was
somehow-
a
Bit
light-
grave robbing.
It was a lightsaber for a bit, and then he traded it for the cauldron. And I was thinking, why? Because out of anything that could destroy the cauldron, it's probably that
The sword.
sword.
I thought
But it was also the
going to-
only thing they had to trade. Like, what else were they gonna trade?
the
They,
pig.
they left the oracular pig at home.
Henwin.
Yeah, but they didn't take her with them. So
Yeah.
Trade
Yeah.
Taran is a deeply stupid character.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think.
unbelievably.
I mean, he's a pig keeper. You didn't go to school.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the thing with Taran is just like, is that a tangible enough arc for him? Like a want? He just wants to be a knight, essentially.
Yeah.
So I'll admit it's not a perfect film,
What?
but
What do you mean?
I mean, were there any bits you guys enjoyed?
Yeah, I love.
Visually, I love the way it looks, to be
Yeah.
honest. Even though some of it is extraordinarily rough, there's a charm to that. But if I had watched this when I was a kid, I would 100% probably drop like a 4.5 stars on a rewatch watching this, because you're talking to the right guy. I totally understand the nostalgia of loving a bad film when you're a kid, and then you still love it just as much when you watch it now, which for me is obviously Loch Ness. But most people's favorite movie it's not always a good movie, is it?
No.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, they're all catastrophic failures that nearly kill careers.
That's right. That's what you guys want to see.
It is strange though, isn't it? Like, we've watched other films that I've watched when I was a kid. Like, I think Cats and Dogs is probably a good example where I enjoyed it as a kid, but I watched it a handful of times and I was like, oh, this is fun. I really like the fact that cats and dogs can talk, etc., etc. And then when we watch it back, I'm like, yeah, this is still pretty good. But you can see all the flaws. Watching The Black Cauldron, I was trying so hard to critique it and be like, oh, this is bad, this bit's rubbish, this bit doesn't hold up. But everything, it was like just being drowned out by like almost this tinnitus of like, it's still amazing. You really love the film.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I all my notes are just like, isn't this lovely? Oh, isn't that great? Look at the little tiny manacles they put Henwin in. Oh, isn't it lovely?
No, I love that. I could watch Loch Ness and I'm going to write down the bad points, and at the end it would just be like a notebook full of fuck. This is so good.
I think my problems with the film, knowing how it was edited, is the edited bits, because you can tell, and it kind of like the ending.
Did
of
you
the
spot the
film-
really obvious goof?
Which one?
Oh, the one that I noticed this time round was where he has to they're like paddling in a boat out of the dungeon, and he has to go and open the grate. Like, I guess it's like a sewer system or like the moat system. So they have a big scene of him like undoing the chains, and then it cuts back to the boat, and then the chains are still wrapped around, like very obviously still wrapped around the grate. And then
Yeah.
it cuts back to them, and it cuts back, and they're open. And I'm just like, oops. The Cauldron really. I know that he's supposed to look evil, but he really doesn't look that evil,
No.
does he?
Also-
He's sort of got a big moustache, and it's like,
Aren't all cauldrons black?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they're made out of
Yeah,
iron.
they're made out of iron, and they'd normally been cooked, and so they're a bit sooty. So normally
Yeah.
yeah, they're
cauldrons are black.
normally. Yeah.
It's a cast iron cauldron. It's got so much flavor in that bad boy. So much flavor built into that.
It's a real
cast iron
spicy cauldron, yeah. Everything that comes out sort of green and wispy.
Yeah. The cauldron is terrible. Like when the cauldron's scary, and then they say something that it was genuinely scared of the cauldron, because the witches say to defeat the cauldron, someone has to get into it,
Yeah.
right? But they say, oh, but that person's not coming out alive, which implies that they're stuck there. They're not
Yeah.
dying. Like, it isn't like, oh, they're dead. It's like you're stuck in the cauldron, which is horrifying.
Well, it's what that's the fate of the king as well, isn't it? Because the original bad king was that they couldn't kill him, so he couldn't die.
Yeah,
so
so they
they
had to trap
instead
him there.
trap him in the cauldron, and that's the same to get him out. You have to trap someone else,
Yeah.
essentially.
Someone good, someone like.
Or
willing.
I don't really understand what the Horned King does because he just puts like a body.
Yeah,
think-
I found that like when he first started doing that and he put the one skeleton in, I was like, wow, if he has to do this one at a time, it's gonna take a while. Like-
Oh, they just do like a real 80s like smash cut of him like with like with some pop punk in the background.
No, stretch it out, blow out that runtime.
I think it's implied that it's someone willing. If it's
Yeah.
someone willing, the cauldron stops working. If the cauldron crashes, if it's someone not willing, the cauldron makes skeletons.
Yeah. Yeah, the evil
cauldron-
power sort of reanimates all these corpses
Yeah.
that they have lying around. I assume lying around for some time because they are
Mhm.
very skeletal.
I think they're just coming from the cauldron though. They come from the green mist.
No, I thought the green mist animated
Yeah, it woke
Oh.
up
the
all
bodies
the
that were
skeletons.
all around because you see them at the start, don't you? Where he's talking to
Yeah.
them and he's like,
Yeah.
You're going to become cauldron born."
My cauldron boy.
But they really, it's really quick. The bit from them being animated to them being like Gurgi sacrificing himself and them dying is
Because
really
they-
quick. Like
because
they haven't
they cut
even
it
made
all
it
out.
over the bridge.
It's because they cut it all out. They cut
Yeah.
it all out because there was no
Yeah,
music.
it's too violent because they definitely cut out the bit where Taron goes and fights them.
Yeah, there's
Mm.
also no music and no sound and no footsteps, and it's just this eerie like wind sound
Yeah.
the whole time. And I'm like, what sound was happening that they were like, this is too scary? cut it
Screaming.
out. Yeah, was
The
it just like
screams of war.
horrified screaming?
It's like bones clanking and scraping together.
Disney are cowards.
They are
Actually,
they're fully
I wish
cowards.
that Taron had sacrificed himself.
Yeah,
Just to
Yeah.
at least like give him something to do.
or like the
I mean, his
princess.
sacrifice is the sword, isn't it? And it's like, you've only just got that.
Yeah, he found
Yeah,
it.
it doesn't feel like there's an emotional attachment to that, does it? It's kind of like, you know what I love about this is such a weird Disney film to watch because you would watch a modern day Disney film, and even if the films aren't always that great, but for the most part, the quality's pretty good. They generally have the story nailed down and the character arcs and things like that. So it's weird to go back and watch one that's a little sort of all over the shop. Like the thing I love about Disney and Pixar is you often have that. What does the character want? And then they normally won't end up getting the want, but they'll get what they need.
Yeah.
Whereas I get to the end of this film and I'm kind of like, I don't really know what Taron sort of. I know he wanted to be a knight, but what did he need and what did he end up with? I'm not really sure he ended up with anything. What did he end up with?
The
He
Friendship.
ended up with saving the world, a princess, a pig, and a best friend that
Well-
is a doggish.
Gurgi is the one that saved the world.
Yeah,
though.
Gurgi sacrificed himself, and then
the
they.
sacrifice.
Great.
Gurgi only
Gurgi's the
sacrificed
hero.
himself
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
he
Gurgi's the
had
hero.
something to sacrifice. Gurgi changes from being that really selfish little mutt mongrel,
That's
Two,
great. He changes.
yeah.
Taron doesn't change.
but Taron does
Taron-
want to, but he's told no, you can't.
Gurgi is the true main character of this
Yeah,
movie.
Gurgi is the protagonist of this movie.
I've come full circle on Gurgi. I actually love Gurgi now.
No, I'm a big fan of Gurgi. I just don't know what the fuck he is.
Yeah, I do get a bit weepy every time he throws himself into the cauldron. I say every time
Right,
because
right.
I've watched this. So
I-
to be fair, and it had actually been about 7 years
Yeah,
since I'd seen it.
When we were
Mm.
suggesting doing this, it popped up on my Facebook memories. Like 7 years ago, you were watching The Black Cauldron with Helena, and I was like,
So you've seen it before, Dan. Michael, have you watched it before? Or is this your first? Yeah.
Nope.
I
only
made
time-
Dan watch.
yeah,
this
I'd
when
seen
we
it
were
before in
teenagers.
the exact same sort of scenario of Helena really likes it and said, watch this. So we did.
Yeah.
Like turn up with cake and like we're gonna watch this film. I think it had just been put on Netflix or something.
I
Yeah.
can't remember. Maybe.
I remember my first time I watched it online. I think was like in 35 parts on YouTube. Back when movies got uploaded in like 10,
Yeah.
like 5 to 10 minute chunks. Oh,
I think
worth it.
I think I'd
Worth the
heard
ad
about it.
breaks.
I think I'd heard about it from like a different video that we had, and it was a trailer at the beginning. So I knew the Black Cauldron existed. I just had never seen it. I think it was on one of the because I watch a lot. I apparently as a kid, as I'm learning, I watched a lot of sequels to films I'd never seen the original to. And I just thought they
Either.
were like original films.
Maniac.
Yeah, don't know how, don't know why. I don't know why we had those videos, but we did. So, but yeah, like I think it was in one of them. So I knew it existed. I didn't
Yep.
care to find it. I didn't realize it was this cursed, or else I would have watched it a long time
Oh,
ago.
hey, you missed out because what a film!
It's incredibly cursed. The ending
So-
is terrifying.
Did you guys pick up on the fact that the Horned King is voiced by John Hurt?
No.
I saw that
No.
afterwards, which
Yeah.
impressed me. I was
Yeah,
like, damn.
no, it's got
no
a big
wonder, no
name.
wonder I
It's got
loved
a
it.
big name. No one
Yeah.
else appears to have done. There's one guy that did some of the voices that is just well known, or was well known for doing lots and lots of voices.
Was it
Um,
Gurgi?
Probably.
I'm here for
um,
Gurgi. I'm a Gurgi stan now.
I'm gonna get a Gurgi t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he.
Just
I'll have to
munching,
make
Yeah,
it because
John
one won't
Hurt's
be
sort of the
available.
only really big name, I
it
think, in
says
it.
munchins and crunchins on it.
This is our first merchandise. It's just we just make Gurgi merch now.
Merchandise for a different film. Oh yeah, no, Disney are perfectly okay with Actually, no, Disney might be perfectly okay with copyright on the Black Gold.
Yeah, that's fine.
They might be like, "This is your problem now." They'll just sign over the copyright to us and be like, "This is yours."
Fuck yeah, we'll get like £2 every year because we get all the residuals from Helena watching it all the time.
Yeah, they're like, should we get rid of this on Disney Plus? And they're like, well, someone's watching it, so
To that one person,
they might be upset, and I'd be furious.
you'd find.
I
it
need to
somewhere
buy
else.
it. I need to get a hard copy of it.
Oh, Redbubble has a t-shirt, Gurgi's Munchings and Crunchings.
Oh,
I
nice.
fuck yeah.
saw that. Yeah.
See that one very well.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's
yeah,
great.
it's like a
That's
Starbucks.
wonderful.
Yeah,
right.
nice.
Scary.
Next
That
time we
Gurgi is
record together,
terrifying.
we'll all be in Gurgi shirts.
Gurgi's munchins and crunchins.
Wow, there's a fair bit of Gurgi stuff out there.
Yeah,
He's
Gurgi's-
popular.
Can you
Gurgi
get
is
us
Everyone
some
loves him.
Gurgi?
Gurgi
Or
is-
loves to hate him.
You get a
Gurgi is-
Gurgi apron for when you're cooking.
He's one of 2 characters in this film. The rest are just there. Uh, it's him and the Horned King.
I'll
you've
get
got
a
to admit,
Horned King t-shirt.
Henwen.
I love the Horned King.
Mm.
Big fan.
Yeah.
Henwen in the scene she's in, which is not enough of them, is adorable though.
No, Henley's got a solid character. Terran, just the dullest human being. Like, just whiny and screamy, and it's should have sacrificed himself. Also, the flump person, the bard, flumpy,
Flamble.
Fluda.
Fluda,
Yeah.
should have been the one to sacrifice himself. I'm like, dude, come on.
Yeah, the old man. Yeah.
The
I mean, it's
old
sort of a
man.
given, isn't it? Like, I've lived my life as
Yeah.
Yeah.
a pretty rubbish bard.
Yeah, 2 kids and a
With
maybe.
does his harp just break a string every time he lies?
Yeah,
Or
Yes,
every time
that's
he's
it,
anxious, I don't know.
I wasn't sure. Was it anxious or horny? It was weird. Like,
Or both.
why is the string
Yeah.
breaking?
Bit of everything.
Every
There's
time
no
he
rules.
gets shoved between a massive witch's tits,
yeah,
a harp string breaks.
Yeah, it was like a semi conscious harp, but it
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
explored particularly far.
But yeah, he should have sacrificed himself as soon as they were
They-
like, well,
they
we'll
all
find
should
into it. Yeah, all of them.
All of them.
I
Just,
assumed it was only-
overload the
Fight
cauldron.
for
Yeah, I only assumed it was Gurgi because the rest of them were tied up, and they were like, "Well, it's Gurgi then, innit? Sorry, sorry, I'm just chained to this wall. Sorry."
It did have, like, thinking back to it, it did have like reverse ending of Lord of the Rings. It did have like the kind of reverse of standing on the edge of a volcano,
Yeah.
where Gurgi's like, "I'll jump." Gollum.
Yeah, I mean, he's so much he's nicer than Gollum. He does have an arch.
Yeah, no,
arc,
he's a
even,
wonderful
and
character. He's the only.
I think
one.
that Taran does as well, but it just to a lesser extent. Like his is he has nothing, and all he is a pig keep, and he's not very
sexy.
good at that.
Nope.
And then he has to suddenly he's talked about being brave for the longest time, but he's never actually had the chance to prove himself, and it's harder than he thinks it's going to be. And then he finds this amazing sword that actually makes being brave a little bit more straightforward. And then he has to give all of that up to try and save these people, knowing that he'll return to just being a pig keep. And he does it. And that's his first step. And then he does try and sacrifice himself. And Alonwi's like, no, you can't. And he still wants to do it. But then Gurgi kind of pips him to the post.
It's weird. It's kind of missing that mentor character to, like, when he finds the sword, he should have an old wise character teaching him how to fight with a sword.
Yeah,
Or
and
and
like-
instead you
There's
have
no
a
real
bard.
reason why he should be able to fight anybody. He's
Or-
just an
or like
idiot
Elwyn
pig
is like-
keeper with a sword.
When Elwyn's like, "Oh no, I can use a sword," she should be like, "Look," and just show him that she's actually a
Yeah, like-
badass. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
She's a princess. She could have easily been like, "I was trained with the sword,"
Yeah.
because
But is
I
she
was
a
a
princess?
princess.
Because he called the Horned King is like, we've got a pig keep and a scullery maid.
well, he was also like after her bauble because he thought it could find out where the cauldron was. Was
Yeah.
he just searching for random things that
He was just
maybe
any rumor that you
Which
could
explains-
find.
He's just like
Swan King.
wandering around boot fairs, like, oh,
this is it.
there's one.
This is
Oh,
it.
got it. How
It does
much
explain-
for this one?
Does explain why he got to the pig last though, because who would believe a rumor? The pig knows where it is.
Yeah, you're getting pretty fucking desperate at
Like,
that point, aren't you? Like, yeah, Creeper comes in like, we've had a report of this. We've got this bauble,
Yeah,
and he's like,
but-
what, like a Christmas bauble? And they're like, no, it's a
It
big
glows.
thing of light, and it flies around, and it kind of has a personality, but
Yeah.
not really. And they were like, okay, well, we'll go for that one first
We'll
because,
get her.
and then that's the last one. They're like, yeah, so bear with me on this one. It's a pig
To-
in a small village, and it can see the future. And if we do find the Black Cauldron in the future, then surely the pig will know where the Black Cauldron is.
Yeah, you have to put it in water, and the water is acidic when you touch it. Good luck. And the water burns when he is doing his magic.
Yeah, it does sort of sizzle on him, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it
And that
burns
doesn't
him.
make any sense because I assumed it was wine because it is kind of coloured.
Is it?
But then I
blood?
was like, is that just because they couldn't animate clear water very
Yeah, it
easily?
might have been.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But yeah, she does go all trippy, doesn't she? When it's the same sort of eyes as the like the snake in the Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Where
It's,
yeah.
when she's like goes all cross-eyed and looks at the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she's a powerful pig.
However, we haven't even scratched the surface of what Henwin can do.
No.
Henwin's magic, Henwin's power was so controlled by that farm, but
Yeah.
the most powerful creature to ever exist, Henwin. Henwin and Gurgi, the two heroes.
Oh, for that
So-
sequel of Henwin and Gurgi going off on an adventure to find out how like her
That's
true power.
that's
I'd
the
watch that.
that's the nonsensical sequel I wanted to watch when I was a kid, not knowing that the Black Cauldron existed. That's the sequel that I wanted. For me to just go, oh yeah, no, I know those two characters.
So I guess out of 10, how many different hints towards finding the Black Cauldron would you give this? And what were they?
Me or Sean?
Who wants to go first? Because we know Helena's going to give
Yeah,
you a
we
10,
know how.
right? You can go last. We'll end on
Yeah,
a high note.
Sean, what do you think?
I give it a 4, probably.
Yeah,
Um,
I felt that. I felt that wave of like, ooh.
but yeah, like I said, if
Right,
I'd watched
I'm
this when I was a kid, if I'd watched it when I was a kid, I would love it. I think it's just because I have no nostalgic attachment to it. I watch it and there are bits of it that I quite like. Like the style of it is great. I would die for Gurgi. But other things like just the protagonist doesn't really do anything for me.
It's lonely.
So yeah, having had this chat though, I'll rewatch it in the future. I will. I've gathered an appreciation for it for Gurgi.
Yeah,
So
isn't he
good.
lovely?
Just watch the Best of Gurgi compilation on YouTube.
Oh, that
Oh, yeah.
exists.
Oh, hell
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I'd go with a 4, maybe 4.5 at a push,
Yeah.
just because like 4.5, whatever the fuck Gurgi is, like it's enjoyable. I think I'm not sure if it's enjoyable. It's beautiful because it's like that era of Disney. It's weirdly experimental, and I love my weirdly experimental Disney films. But there's like nothing much to it. There's the campness of the Horned King, but like yeah, the protagonists are very boring. Apart from Gurgi, the bard person is just there. A lot of the scenes don't make sense. I'm gonna stop complaining because I can feel Helena burning into my skull.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You're welcome to your own opinion. It's wrong.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like you said the bard guy is just there. He's the one who, after this chat, I still don't know his name. Everyone
Flumpkin.
else, flim flam,
Flum,
Flumble.
Flumbloodle.
fleur
Flumbloodle.
flum,
They
Fleur
mention it like once.
fleur de flum.
Flurd.
Flambe.
Fleur de flam, yeah.
Yeah, he's no good.
No, he's no Gurgi. He doesn't sacrifice himself right away. Imagine how good this film would be where as soon as they revealed the cauldron and the rules, Flumpfly just went, all right, I'm getting in. It's like, oh, okay.
No,
I
stop
love
stripping
Gurgi.
off like it's a bath.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like in Lord of the Rings where Gimli just immediately tries to destroy the ring. It's like he just climbs in. Like, okay.
Just the witch is going, oh, okay.
Oh.
Oh, normally it's like a harder sacrifice.
He seems willing.
Yeah.
Well, he's
Yeah,
gone.
yeah.
Can I trade the cauldron back for the sword, please?
You can have the gold.
Yeah, I think I'd give this like a 5 out of 10.
5 out of 5.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah.
Cracking open a
do it.
cauldron with the boys.
Yeah.
um, like it was enjoyable enough. I had that slight nostalgia from when I'd watched it with Helena before, but I think when I watched it, that was actually in person with her before, so there was like a radiance coming from there.
Oh yeah, I think my enthusiasm is probably quite catching when I'm around people watching this.
But like the
so
animation was lovely. Like all the as everyone else has said, animation's great. Gurgi is the fucking best.
Where Gurgi stands first and people second.
Yeah, so yeah, I definitely give this a 5.
Well, for me, I think it's 10 whimsical sidekicks out of 10. There probably are 10, I think. I haven't counted because first time I watched it, don't think I could count. It's just perfect. And even it's perfect in its imperfection, which I think is a direct quote from what you said about Loch Ness as well, Sean. So, oh gosh, where to start? I really want to go and watch it again now. Like I might watch it again this evening. It's just everything about it, from like the spooky start, the pig, obviously, like Henwen. If I could get like a Henwen stuffed toy, I would absolutely. She's perfect. She's so pretty and pink and gorgeous, and that scene where she's like having her back rubbed and scrubbed, and she's just the best in the world. And just the emotional roller coaster where she gets her head like shoved onto the chopping block, and they're like, okay, we're going to chop this pig's head off, and you're like, no,
yeah,
you
they're
can't.
gonna make pork chops. Yeah,
It's just it's brilliant. Honestly, I don't know why people don't watch this film every day.
I can give you a list.
because it didn't exist for a while by the sounds of things.
I think that is the biggest mistake that Disney made, was hiding this from the world.
Yeah. Imagine if this had got released and it was a big success, and then we just had all these like weird fucked horror like Disney films instead.
Yeah, these tonally confused films
Yeah.
that like we want to scare children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want this to be for older children that can handle it. No, we want this to be targeted at like infants and just have them cry.
The Little Mermaid is just like an animated body horror. Like...
But it could be like the maybe they'd have had the original ending where she like kills herself.
Yeah.
Yeah, the grim stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. The original, the OG Little Mermaid is really bleak.
Yeah.
So maybe we could have been saved from a lot of Disney ending. Maybe the term Disney ending wouldn't mean the same thing.
No, it just becomes horror.
If this had been wildly popular, like one of us right now could have been named Gurgi.
Fuck yeah.
Or Ailonwi, which would have been extra cruel.
Legally changing it. Or Flumpy.
As long as we're not Taran.
No.
To be fair, I know that you're struggling with his name, Fluder, but it is spelled Fflewddur.
Yeah.
So what chance did you have?
It's a Welsh name.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess with that, I have been Dan.
I have been Michael.
I've been Helena.
And I've been Sean.
Thank you for coming on to watch this, Sean.
Yeah, thank you
been great.
for watching this, and I hope that you enjoyed it and enjoyed the experience of someone else's nostalgia.
I definitely did. It's great. Thank you for introducing me to this, and I hope more people watch it now.
Thank you. Yeah, please leave a review on Letterboxd, because
I will.
I don't know
I will.
what the state of play is actually for the
Probably.
Black Cauldron on Letterboxd, but I haven't
It's
reviewed
not
it
on
yet
there.
because I didn't want to spoil it for you guys, because I wanted you guys to find out from me how I feel, because I
Disney.
I reckon the average would be about a 3.
Yeah, the average is a
Yeah.
3.
Is
There's
it?
only one
Yeah.
person that I followed, which is Alexi, who has given this a 3. Like no one else I follow has seen this. But yeah, average of a 3.
2.5 stars. That's
Yeah.
that's poor.
Wow, Disney have done their job. Nobody has seen this film.
Yeah.
Until now.
So, Sean, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at Carney from 55, and I also co-host a couple of podcasts. A podcast called Scaredy Boys about a couple of cowards who watch horror films, and a podcast called How Good's Footy, which is about Australian rules football, if that interests anybody out there in the world.
I kind of want to dip my toe into AFL, but I just don't know where to start.
Yeah, you said
Well, there's a great podcast.
you said before we started that it was the final last night. Who won?
The team that won was a team called the Melbourne Demons.
Oh, nice.
Who it was quite nice. It was a nice story because it's been 57 years since the last time they won, which was the longest active streak out of any team in the comp. So yeah, there was a lot of people crying and celebrating. It was good. Nice. It was good to see. But if they win again next year, they're fucking dogs. Give them one, and that's it.
One and done. So yeah, you can find this podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Hilton Pod. That's at HILTM Pod. We've started a Discord now as well, so that will be in the link tree as well.
Yeah.
Buy Gurgi merch.
Okay. I mean, that was actually pretty genuine. I'm pretty hurt. I'm gonna go just snuggle up with Gurgi and have a good time by myself because you guys don't deserve him.
Gurgi is the only good character.
No, he's not.
For life.
They're all brilliant. How can you not love Henwen though?
Yeah, Henwen's great too.
Henwen's cool. I don't know. Gurgi is a special kind of character. Mainly because he's the right only one of his kind.
Yeah, no, he is.
Gurgi just is, and always will be.